So this is what I'm going to be talking about today. These are DR strings, and this is what they refer to as the drop-down tuning strings. Of course, I'll show them to you again. They got a spider on the front. This set is 12 through 60, so the gauges are 12, 16, and 20 for your plain strings, 38, 52, and 60 for your wound strings. So pretty, heavy set of strings. One big thing that to get right off the bat, one big thing about these strings that's different than other brands, most other brands, you can take, any guitar company can take and make thicker strings. But there's a little bit of a thought process behind these ones, and it's that, if you put a thicker core, in the strings, it allows them to hold those lower tunings better and feel a little bit better playing them too. But it just helps really with tuning down, maintaining those notes and maintaining the right kind of tension on the strings. And that's one good thing about these, is these are thought out. They're not just, oh, let's make a 60 gauge. That's the first thing. If you read anything about these, that they tell you that they have made heavier cores for them and stuff. And I've played a few brands that do that. There's not a lot out there, or they'll make like a set or two like that. But it does make a big difference, because sometimes when you tune down like that, and you use, even if you're not tuning down, even if you're just using heavy strings in E or E flat or something, when you use bigger strings, is what I should say, sometimes they get an awkward feel, and it's not necessarily because they're bigger, it's just because of the way they react to like picking and stuff. I play bass a little bit, and when I play it, I realize on a guitar I like a certain amount of tension to be able to do like fast picking and stuff, but on a bass, the strings are huge, and they don't have to have as much tension, and I can still tremolo pick and stuff and not get lost in the strings and like fly through them with my pick. Sometimes on my guitar, if I don't have enough tension, I'm just like tearing the strings off. With the bass, I realized, hey, on the bass I don't have to have heavier gauge strings. I'm using light sets. And I think it's just because bass strings are made, with big cores like that, and they're made to handle that low tuning and react like a light set of strings, but at the same time, there's just something about them, when you hit them, they kind of like bounce back faster, if that makes sense. Whereas, like, if you were to take a 42, let's say, and instead of tuning it to E standard, you tuned it down to C sharp, it's going to just flop. With bass strings, they bounce back real fast, and that's how these are. So even if you're using like a 60 and you're tuning down to, like, let's say A, which I would prefer, for me, I'd recommend 60 for more like B or C, not really A or even B flat, but let's say you did do that. These strings, they might not have enough tension, but they're still going to have that kind of like snappy feel to them. It's really hard to explain without you playing them, but the thing is, the whole point is it works well. The way they've designed it and thought it out, it works well with these low tunings, because it also, the bigger core makes the notes come through a lot better, and that's something that's really hard to do when you're down, pretty much in baritone range or lower, baritone and bass range, because I've played so many brands of strings and tuned down to baritone range, C, B, A before, and just some of them just sound like garbage because they can't pick the notes up right. With these heavier chords, it seems like the note can just resonate better. One big downfall with this set of strings in particular, and I know some of the other strings kind of have this problem too, is the third string in the set is not wound. It's a plain string. So this set right here has a third string that is a plain 20. No, that's not good, because what it is it's very thick plain string. So one, it feels crappy on your fingers, but two, doesn't hold tune. It doesn't intonate worth the crap, and I've ran into this problem with a lot of set of strings that are heavier sets made for down tuning and whatnot. In a set this heavy, I would recommend that string being a wound string. So if this set was like 12, 16, and then like a wound 22 or wound 20, I've never seen a wound 20, but I'm sure they exist, this set would be a lot better. That, and also I think the 52 and then 60, I think 52 is a little bit heavy. I think that string would have been better being like a 50 or a 48, but it still plays well, but it is a lot more tension than the 60. I noticed when I tuned to B standard with them, the 60 felt nice and loose, kind of like a 46 in E, but it was a 60 in B. Then I hit the 52 and it was like running into a brick wall. It was just a lot more tension in E, on the fifth string tuned to E. So those are the really only complaints with these strings. I've never had any bad experience with DR except for one time, And I will say the bad experience I had was a little bit weird. I was playing, and all of a sudden, the string just popped and came out of tune. So I grabbed my tuner, I went to tune it back up. I just thought maybe something slipped or something. Wasn't going to tune, and then I looked, and about an inch from my bridge, there was, it looked like a slinky came undone. And it was the string. It popped right before the bridge, about an inch from the bridge. And it blew my mind. So the string was a wound string. It was the E string. Came unwound and burst off the center core string, And that was weird. I've been playing guitar for like 13 years now. And it's never happened. Not a single time to me. So that was very, 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 very awkward. And, other than that, DR have been amazing strings, since these are DR strings, it's not just like they're their own thing. I will go into the fact that DR strings do, when you put them on your guitar, to me, tune up faster than any other guitars or strings I've ever put on my guitar. They break in faster is what I mean. Some sets I have to just keep stretching and stretching. These, it's like 3 times they're stretched, and when they lock into tune, it's like they stay really well. They're going to come out a little bit. They are still guitar strings, but they hold a lot better than any other brand I've had. But yeah, just them breaking like that was very awkward. And, I'm sure people have had that happen with pretty much every brand going. Everybody plays something different and has had all kinds of different experiences. That was the worst experience I've had with strings. I've put them on before and broken them, but usually that was because I was tuning them up a little bit too fast, or tuning them to something, it was a really huge string and I was tuning them up to like E or something. But that's the only bad experience I've had with strings kind of in general, and DR strings. The drop down tunings I've not had any problems with. I haven't used a ton of them, but the ones I have used have been really well, well product. And I put those on a 25.5 scale length guitar, by the way. So if you're using, Les Paul or Fender, whatever, they're going to react very similar to what I was playing them on. It's not like I got a baritone or something I've been trying them out on. Regular guitar tuned down to B with those strings, and it played well. I kind of liked a little bit more tension than that set provided me, but that wasn't the strings' fault. That was just, me tuning them a little bit lower than I felt comfortable playing. But yeah, they were great strings. Heavy core is a big bonus. The fact that they're DR is really great. Because, again, I like DR strings a lot. I think they're one of the best companies out there. I think, that, it does suck that they're $1 or $2 more than most brands. But, you do get a good product for that. I will say it's worth it. If you're somebody who's seen DR and wants to try them, I would say, if you're like, but they're $1 more than Ernie Ball or Diodario or whatever, I'll tell you right now, it's worth it to at least try them. That's the one thing I will say is, if you're on the fence about it, try them. It couldn't hurt. I've had good, good experiences with them. I don't play them all the time, but I would play on 20 sets of the DR strings, and out of those 20 sets, I only had that one problem. And, they replaced the string. I got a hold of them. They replaced the set, actually. They sent me a whole new set, no cost to me, so that was great, too. But yeah, that was Ernie Ball drop-down tuning, the Spider on them, and it was 12 through 60. I don't know what this set's called. I remember, they all have different names, but this set's 12 through 60.